Alright guys, before we get started on this epic review of Final Fantasy XI, I'd like to dedicate this episode to Krinital, or Corey, as he is named on the Patreon. So thanks man, thanks for the support, and thank you for playing this game with us.
From Provo, Utah, this is the Ultimate Final Fantasy Podcast with your hosts, Joseph DeGolier and Caleb Schweiss. This is Ultima Final Fantasy.
Everything.
Welcome to another episode of Ultima Final Fantasy, the Ultimate Final Fantasy Podcast.
Everything.
I'm your host, Caleb Schweiss.
And I'm your other host, Joseph DeGolier.
And today we will be reviewing Final Fantasy 11.
11 games in.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Holy crap-a-moly.
Yeah, we're like a fourth of the way done, maybe. Maybe.
Oh, no. Like a fifth, maybe.
Fifth? Oh, my God.
Dude! There's a lot of games. There's like 40-something games, dude.
There's a lot.
And there's just more and more every year.
Yeah, it's not getting easier for us, that's for sure.
One or two major Final Fantasy releases per year, it seems like.
Yeah.
Last year there were a lot.
Yeah, it's true. There were a few. So, we realized last week right after we did the episode, I'd say, the next day-ish, we realized that the game's almost over for Final Fantasy 11. Like, we were at the end of the original.
Before the episode. We announced this last week.
Oh, did we announce it?
Yeah, we announced it.
Oh, I forgot about that. Whatever. Anyway, at some point a week ago-ish, we figured this game is almost over. It's time to do a review. Now, keep in mind, this is the original Japanese release. The American release came with the first expansion.
Right.
So,
I think we should explain to some people who only listen to our review episodes where we got to in 11 that we decided we were done.
yeah.
Like you were just trying to do. When the game initially came out, there were 3 nation missions, and you could get up to level 50 in that initial release, I do believe. And on that level 50 area, you'd be able to fight a guy named the Shadow Lord, and he was the final boss at the time. And so that was Final Fantasy XI. You had 3 nation missions, 3 nation mission storylines, and they would all lead to the same final boss, in quotes, because they expanded on it later.
Yeah.
And so that's where we ended up. We took the Bastok route to the Shadow Lord. And so we did all those missions leading up to the Shadow Lord, and then we, of course, beat the Shadow Lord.
Eventually.
Last week.
Yeah.
So that's where we got to. Actually, the U.S. release, they expand the main nation missions. It's about twice the size.
Yeah, it's double in number, so to speak. But some of them, I don't know. We're not sure how long they take. Some of them, like later on, were long missions.
Well, they were.
Early ones.
You need to be on a higher level.
Yeah,
definitely. Than you need to be on these other.
Yeah,
ones.
like the one we got to. It's like
recommended level 75.
Yeah, recommended level 75 of 2 specific classes, or a party of like 12 people of level 65. I'm like, God, that's sick. But yeah, so
it's sick right now. I'm guessing when you're on level 99, it's probably not that bad.
I doubt it. Yeah, it's probably really easy to kill everything. But yeah, we did it.
So that's where we got to. We beat the Shadow Lord and decided, hey, that's the original main storyline of FF11. That's where it ended. So technically, we beat FF11.
Yep.
And of course, they added expansions on later, but some expansions, only Rise of the Zillard continues the main storyline.
Yeah.
The other expansions are side storylines. So we decided to push those off for about another year, it looks like.
Yeah, we are going to try to pump through the rest of the Bastok missions, which I'm not sure how long they're going to take, honestly, but it shouldn't be too bad. So we're still playing the game because we did give it the 2-month time frame, but we've got...
And we'll probably revisit it with the people who played with us.
Oh, yeah, we'll do some sort of special review episode where we talk about the aspects of the game and what the add-ons or even the original part. I mean, it'll be a nice call out to everyone that helped us out through the game, especially Crinitol and Baindrum, and actually all of them helped us a ton.
Crinitol, Baindrum, Art, Darth Jamu, and Jenna, I believe, were all the people
Jenna
who
was
played
there
with us.
But yeah, it was a great experience. So we'll definitely have something special for them if they can make it. Once we get to the end of the 2-month mark for Final Fantasy XI. So
yep. So join us if you haven't already.
Yeah, there's not much time left. So go Darth Jomu style. Just find a party of people that are starting out the game and ride on their shoulders to success. So.
But we've got to review the game as a standalone.
Yep, we do.
Yeah, we gonna get to it, Schweiss?
We better. All right, the history and development of Final Fantasy XI. Yes, by Caleb Schweiss and the Wikipedia page. Mostly the Wikipedia page. All right, so Final Fantasy XI is, of course, an MMORPG.
Is that what it is?
Square.
What?
Yeah, it's not as massive as it once was, but it is still technically an MMORPG.
Well, I think it's just a massive game, so...
Yeah, just an M.
Yeah, an MRPG.
Yeah.
Or an FMRPG, a fucking massive role-playing game.
Big.
I don't think anybody can even fathom how big Final Fantasy XI is.
I don't know. Guild Wars was really big too, though. I don't know if it's as big.
Yeah, but
as
we
11,
haven't
though.
even visited
That's the problem.
a third of the areas.
Yeah, I don't even know how big 11 is, and it's already massive. So
yeah, it's huge, huge game.
It is. Game was designed and produced by Hiromichi Tanaka and was released in Japan on May, what was that, 16th? Yeah, 16th, 2002 for PS2. It came out for PC that year in November. So it was originally PS2. That's crazy to me.
That is so weird.
I know, it doesn't seem right.
Of course, now they're going to pull it off the PS2 by next March, I believe.
Yeah, that's what they said. Final Fantasy XI was the first cross-platform MMORPG, and also the first MMORPG available on Xbox 360.
Now, should we say that this was pre-World of Warcraft we're talking here?
Yeah, we should. This came out when there were
very few MMORPGs.
There were, and we'll talk about the influence of a particular one.
Okay.
In the creation of 11.
Right, so Final Fantasy XI was originally conceived by Hironobu Sakaguchi, believe it or not. The Gooch, as we call him, was quite impressed with Western MMORPGs such as EverQuest and convinced Square to begin developing their own MMORPG based upon their flagship Final Fantasy series. So it wasn't necessarily saying at the time that it was going to be 11.
No. It was just going to be based off of it.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if he was like, no, for the whole 11 thing.
I don't know.
And then they canned him
head
for
up
it.
in the company. He probably
could have done what he wanted.
He's probably part of that decision.
Damn it.
So it was EverQuest, the MMORPG EverQuest.
Yep. That's what influenced it.
Influenced it. Nice.
They're like, we should do that.
Yeah. So the team that created the beloved Chrono Cross was given the task to develop 11.
Yeah, which is pretty cool and kind of makes sense as to why there's so many different stories you can do, because in the Chrono games, there's like 1 billion endings to them, apparently. So
I think there's just 1 billion. I think there's just a bunch of stories you can do because it's an MMO and they added expansions. That's why.
I know. But
I don't really think it doesn't seem to have anything to do with that. However, you can start off in 3 different nations and have slightly different storylines because of that.
Yeah. So development for FF11 began in November of 1999. Square was really pushing to make a cross-platform game, and FF11 would be that game. Tanaka stated that the game is heavily influenced by FF3, which we can totally see.
Yeah, you can definitely see that in the game.
Yeah, namely in the battle and magic systems, which, yes, definitely the job system as well.
Mm-hmm.
Tanaka stated that Square put in FF11 what they could not previously do, which they stated makes Final Fantasy 11. Yeah, great. Thank you. Which makes FF11 the most representative Final Fantasy of all. Not sure how I feel about that, but whatever.
So he stated that it was the most representative Final
Yes,
Fantasy.
this is what they want Final Fantasy to be.
What?
Yeah, that's what they said. That's what he said.
Not what Sakaguchi said. This
No.
was Tanaka.
Yes.
This was Tanaka. All right.
Well, whatever, yeah, we'll accept that as his answer. So the game was developed and ran on the most powerful graphics processor available at the time, which I had the name of, but I was like, I don't really care, so I didn't put it in there. But so it was top of the line, right? And it cost them about 2 to 3 billion yen, which is about $17 to $25 million to create. So honestly, not nearly that bad. Very cheap compared to like 7.
It's cheap to 7, but 10 costs 23 million.
So it was a little more.
To produce.
It could have been more than 10. They're not exactly sure.
It looks like it costs about the same amount as 10.
And of course, the cost for that also includes the god awful play online thing that is just such a pain in the ass. So yeah,
that was the developing of their engine, or
yeah,
was
they developed everything. That was everything.
They've developed this game from the ground up.
Yeah, for the 17 to 25 million.
Wow.
So it's not bad, honestly. And a lot of it's because of the text. You think about it, everything is almost text. So it's a lot easier to do, the transition for the different languages because you don't have to do voice acting.
I've heard that Final Fantasy 12 was made on the same engine as 11.
I'm not sure.
I think I'm correct on that.
I believe it, so I wouldn't doubt it at all. Same engine, same deserts.
So they expected FF11 to become profitable in a 5-year time span?
Yeah, that was their initial outlook. They're like,
it was probably profitable before then.
Yes, it was.
So Square originally announced that there would be a simultaneous release on the PS2 and PC, but of course that was later changed. They had considered releasing it on the Xbox, but decided that it was too shittier. Which, of course, Caleb meant too small of a hard drive. On the Xbox?
Yeah, that's what they said. I don't know what that means. Like, the hard drives are massive on that thing, but that's what their reason was. I think what it was is
Sony owns 20% of our stock.
No, I don't think it's so much that because right now the issue with 14, the reason why they don't want it on Xbox is because they won't do cross-platform. They refuse to.
Yeah, Microsoft won't do cross-platform.
And Square
did they feel that way at the time that this game was released?
I think they must have, because there's a big competition between the two. And they never released it on Wii because of, I can't remember what their reason was for Wii, but it doesn't really matter because it was later. But yeah, I think it's because Microsoft is assholes. They is assholes, and they don't want to have cross-platform for whatever reason. They don't want to have people on the same servers. I don't understand it.
That's so...
Especially now, where the graphical quality is so matching, essentially, between the two consoles, that, like, for 14...
Between the two consoles, that matter.
Yeah, that matter, obviously. Wii U doesn't count. But, yeah, so I don't really understand it, but that was the reason. So 11 was originally announced in January of 2000 at the Yokohama Millennium Conference. Mm-hmm. And the game received a fair amount of negative press from this.
It was originally announced and it received negative press for being announced?
Yeah, once it was announced, because people really questioned it being named the 11th of the series. Because of the MMO standards at the time. I mean, there wasn't really much structure to storyline, apparently. Because, I mean, even with 11, you can see it. It's not as structured, nowhere near as structured as the original games. And so that's where a lot of the flack came from, is naming it 11.
It still has that flack.
It does. Naming it 11 and it being an MMO number.
It being so different.
Yeah. That was a big part of the negativity.
This Dragon Quest has now fallen in the footsteps of Final Fantasy, though.
Yeah.
I think the 10th Dragon Quest game is an MMO. Which is interesting, because usually it's Final Fantasy copying Dragon Quest. But
yeah, usually. Yeah.
Now they went the other way around. Dragon Quest X is the MMO.
Well, now they're in the same company.
11's such an odd number to make a big change onto.
Yeah, you'd think it'd be 10.
Yeah.
Something ending in a 5 or 10. But whatever. Maybe they like odd numbers. Oh. Double the odd.
All right. So the game was listed as, despite having this negative press, I guess, it was listed as as one of the most anticipated games of 2004 by IGN, following its PC release. So they were waiting for, I guess, the American release.
Yeah, the American release. And interestingly, they had I don't know why this was such a big deal, but they had a server outage for like 4 hours on June 14th, 2002. And the patch they released for it is thought to be the first ever patch for a console game.
Really?
Which is really interesting. Yeah, think about that, though. At the time, for PS2s, you didn't have patches. You
so
just
Final
had the
Fantasy
game.
XI is it's
like
going where no man had ever gone before.
Yeah, it's like a god of firsts.
Yeah.
Which they do all the time. So honestly, it's like super Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy XI is an incredible game to think about, if you think about it, though. It marked many firsts for both Square and the gaming as a whole, as we were saying, being their first attempt at an MMO, as well as being the first cross-platform MMO ever. And, of course, they even updated the game to be playable on the PlayStation 3?
That's what I read, yeah. There's like ways to do it.
Really?
Yeah, I wish I would have known that. But there's stuff you can download to do it, and that's pretty cool, I think, because like you think about it, PS2 to PS3, it's just crazy to me. Like that doesn't really happen, except for maybe like a PS3 to a PS4 port now, which is like every other day they come out with one of those fucking things. But it's not an MMO where you can play on your PS2, your PS3, or your PC,
or your Xbox 360,
or your Xbox 360 for now.
Soon it will only be PC though.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean,
coming in March.
Yeah. Are they killing the 360 too? They are, aren't they?
Killing it at the same time.
Wow. It's a disgrace for Microsoft.
A lot of people on the forums are kind of like freaking out.
Really?
Yeah, have you noticed that? But they were, saying, it's the game's going to be ending, but there's not really an end in sight.
No, not.
I mean, there is a distant one.
not a complete end for the
not
PC.
A complete end, no.
It's still profitable, obviously. Like there's server maintenance, but outside of that, they're coming out with a new expansion, but which we've seen in the game. We've seen a lot of activity since when we first started. Now that expansion's coming out this month, there's been a lot more new people showing up. The cities are starting to get populated.
It's
again.
true. It was kind of weird playing it. It was desolate, and then like you can go on there now, you'll see people.
Yeah, in the beginning, I saw nobody. Like for the first hour or two.
So we like hopped on right at time.
Yeah, I feel part of it is we revitalized 11 ourselves.
That's what Badger was saying. It's not true.
No, it's not. But thanks.
We
man.
got 4 people to play with us.
Yeah, maybe those 4 people created 4 people of their own, and we created like a chain reaction.
You'd think we'd have bigger parties though.
Yeah, that's true because they would know. They'd be like, "Oh, there's a podcast."
I kind of appreciate having the same people on every time because then it's like.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, you get to.
You don't have to worry about the trusts. Yeah, fantastic.
So over the years, FF11 has received 7 add-ons and/or expansions. The first expansion, Rise of the Zillert, came out in 2003. This expansion introduced 3 new classes, the Dragoon, Samurai, and Ninja, as well as adding to the original storyline, which we talked about earlier. The newest expansion, titled... after that, of course, they had a... What was it? They had... Chains of Promathia, Wings of the Goddess, Tales of Abyssia,
Treasures of Ot Urgan.
Treasures of Ot Urgan. What else was there? Wings. Those are the ones we can think about right now.
Yeah, we didn't get to a lot of the content for that. We saw some of the cutscenes, which looked awesome, but like,
yeah, if you get to certain areas in the game,
you'll just run into cutscenes.
You'll run into cutscenes
that weren't there before, but.
They're like the starting cutscenes of certain expansions.
Yeah, they
look amazing.
Very interesting, yeah. And the cutscenes are like way better looking. You were mentioning this earlier. There's like swooping camera angles and like the graphical quality is better.
Yeah.
And, like it's not just the lion chick that looks awesome, it's like every other chick. So it's really derogative.
So the newest expansion, Rhapsodies of Vana'diel, is scheduled to have a 3-part rollout this year, debuting this month.
At some point, they haven't actually said when. It's just
they
May.
say middle of May is what they say on their website. Then they have another one in August coming, and then one in November. And then that will be Final Fantasy XI's final hurrah. And those are free expansions. You don't have to buy the expansion, which we should also say. It's a big thank you from Square Enix.
For making them a shitload of money on 11.
Basically, yes.
which is cool. I mean, it's nice to have a free expansion, especially after buying the version of the game we did that was like $40,
Right.
or 30 maybe.
It's 30 for Amazon users, and if you decide to buy it through Steam, it's
For whatever
$40.
reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, same version.
The only time Steam is more expensive than
I don't know. I bought Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 online for $3, and it's like $20 on Steam.
Oh, okay.
Maybe
Forget I
not
said
the
that.
only time. But yeah, it's not as frequent that Steam is more expensive. So it was weird. But I'm like, screw that. Especially with the login system, there's like really no reason to use Steam's interface.
Nothing. No reason to use Steam's interface whatsoever.
The game tracks your hours played. That's like the only other thing about Steam that I really like. So
See, there you go.
there you go, Crinital. There you go. Just kidding. So, of course, 11's music was scored by 3 people this time. Naoshi Mizuta, Kumi Tanoka, and, of course, Nobuo Uematsu. The expansion packs were scored solely by Mizuta after Tanaka left to pursue other projects, and by that time,
Tanoika.
Tanoika. Fine.
Tanoika.
Tanoika left to pursue other projects, and by that time, the legendary Uematsu had actually left the company. And
The first of many things, the last of many things.
No kidding, yeah. It's the beginning of a dark age for the employees there. He actually, the intro song, I don't know if you knew this, but it's speaking in Esperanto, yeah. It's like a language created in the late 1870s in an attempt to unite a people of numerous nations. I read up on this. It's crazy.
What
it's like,
the hell?
I've
never heard of this.
It's like a mix between Russian and a bunch of other European languages, and they had it spoken in that just kind of as a theme, because the game is based on uniting nations to overcome a certain evil, and the language was created to unite nations to overcome their, stupid racistness.
Believe what you want to, whatever it takes to make you happy.
I'm not sure if I believe.
Yeah, I read an article.
It sounds pretty cool. I've never heard of Esperanto.
But yeah, that's what the language they're singing
that.
or whatever in the beginning chorus, and he did that obviously to create a feeling of unity. That's a core of the core theme of 11, totally the core theme.
Mm-hmm.
And then also an interesting way of looking at it is
the only way you can beat 11 is through Unity.
Yeah, that's very true. And
can't beat it yourself, that's for sure.
No, it's not a single player game by any means. But and interestingly enough, it also plays into that with the cross-platform play, kind of bringing in all sorts of different, gamers, all sorts of different people with different consoles and shit like that. He also, let's see, he is noted to claim that it was difficult to compose a game with no linear plot line, which is definitely a switch for him because with 10 especially, it's like linear.
10 and 9.
10 and 9, yeah.
Super linear games.
Yeah, so
most of the Final Fantasies, 4 and onwards, really linear games.
Yeah, like even with 7, there's areas that you can. 7's more open, but
they all have
you
somewhere where you can explore outside.
But you still can't go too far without the buggy or without the plane or without the submarine.
There's
so honestly,
blockades,
you guys who think that they're more or less linear, you're kind of right. But at the same time, you must not have been paying that much attention.
Illusion.
It is. It's an illusion.
And if you want non-linearity, you play 11.
Yeah, play 11 or play like Elder Scrolls. You can go wherever. You just shouldn't because you'll die. But yeah, they're all linear, so I don't care what you guys say. It's a fallacy. We'll have to do a special episode
It's a phallic
on that.
symbol.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's not. Sorry.
Well, I mean, it is.
I was thinking of something else.
You got the tower in 3. You got the swords, the lance. So yeah, he said it was pretty difficult. And yeah, this was the very first game in the series that he actually composed without being an official Square Enix employee.
So he left the company and became
He was a freelancer.
He's a freelancer.
Like everybody else by this time.
But this was still his last Final Fantasy that he composed.
Yeah. Yeah, he did the main composure of... not as many
composure?
Whatever. But he didn't do as many songs as the other guys, I don't think, but he did the main areas, the main themes, and there's some really good ones.
The main themes, yeah.
Other than the Bastok and Sandoria ones, yeah, they're good. Sandoria drives me insane in this game. And yeah, FF11 has almost no voice acting.
So like the opposite of 10.
Yeah.
Like their big breakthrough with 10 was voice acting.
Yeah, and they're like, fuck it.
Yeah.
We're gonna do text boxes, baby. Lots and lots of text boxes.
More text than you've ever seen in your life.
See,
There'll be so much text you can't even read it.
or you don't even want to. So yeah, they utilize the fuck out of the text boxes. So not a bad thing. I mean, it makes sense with the transition to unify the different languages that'll play the game, but you know.
So for Final Fantasy, it brought many new things to the table, as we've said before. But this includes the player's ability to customize their character's features from 5 races with 2 genders, different facial styles, hair color, job, and even national allegiance. So it really builds upon that Final Fantasy 1 pick your own adventure kind of thing.
It does, but you get to choose from like a couple different faces and stuff, which is like the beginning. Any MMO does that now, and of course 14 is like ridiculous with the customization. I'm like, I can
disagree.
make this.
I disagree. I have something to say about that.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Okay, fine.
This game also brought a fully 3-dimensional landscape with free roaming enemies,
Which I love.
A lot of people credit 12 with doing that, but of course people like to skip 11 when they're talking about main series Final Fantasies.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 11's the first one.
Yep.
That had that. This allows battles to occur in real time rather than the random encounters that we saw in the previous 10 entries. Final Fantasy 11 also brought back the fan favorite job system from Final Fantasy V, from Final Fantasy 3, and in other ways,
Kind of in one, huh?
in the other,
In all of them,
Final
actually.
Fantasy
If you
1.
think about it, you just
Super customizable jobs in a couple of them.
yeah.
But yeah, we've talked about jobs.
Yes.
Talked about jobs a lot this podcast.
except for our jobs, of course.
Yes.
We don't mention that.
Yep. So players were allowed to level up numerous jobs in the game.
You can level up any job,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, go ahead.
So you can have a main job, but you can only use 2 jobs. You have a main job and a secondary job. The catch here is that your secondary job can only be utilized up to half the level of your main job. These different jobs have special traits, of course, magic abilities, spells, and even passive abilities with higher cooldowns. So this is all things that we kind of know. I do want to talk about that customization of your face and stuff like that. Did you ever play Tony Hawk Underground?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, do you remember the customization in that game?
It was pretty good.
Now, we're
actually.
talking about what is now a pretty
PS2.
old game.
Yeah, like 2003.
You could do everything to your features. Every single thing. Like, you could just slide your eyes, you could move them around. Just every piece of your body you were able to change the size of. And I am so surprised when we play up to even Final Fantasy XIV now that we don't have the kind of customization that we have in Tony Hawk Underground. I just want my guy to look like me. That's all I want. And I can never quite get him there. He's always extremely fit.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're usually in good shape.
Yeah. I kind of want a bit like a short, fat guy
As my main character. What's wrong with that?
with pale skin and a beard. Why can't I have this?
That's a good question. That's a good point too. Tony Hawk's always been
Tony
really good
Hawk
with that.
Underground is
It's old.
a super, like, if you do the character customization in that game, it is extremely detailed to your bicep size and how pointy your nose is. You could just like change the slant by like whatever little degree you wish.
Yeah.
I don't understand why we can't have that kind of customization in these games.
Some games do, honestly. Like some of the Elder Scrolls games, you can really, like with Skyrim and with ESO, I could really do a lot with my dude. I didn't because I'm like, hey, I could spend hours on this making him look just like me. And by then, I'll have caved-in eyes that are even further back in my head. And,
You'll have to adjust.
yeah, I'll have to like poke him back a little further.
Well, I can understand that Final Fantasy XI wouldn't be able to have that kind of thing.
Right, yeah.
Even though Tony Hawk Underground probably came out like 1 or 2 years after.
Right.
But Final Fantasy XIV not being able to have that kind of customization, I just felt a little gypped on when I started it.
Yeah. I don't know. I usually don't care too much about that stuff, though. Like with I don't know. Like, I
do
know this is kind of off topic, but like with COD, it rewards you. The new Call of Duty game rewards you with like clothing and shit. I never wear the clothes. Like I'm just like I make one cool looking outfit. My guy's like got neon green armor and like jetpack on, and that's it. Everything else I just sell for experience. I'm like tons of people have all this super wonky and fancy customized armor and gloves and boots. I'm just like, fuck that. I was gonna shoot you, you know.
Right.
So part of me like doesn't care, but at the same time, it's a good point you bring
Well,
up.
it's an MMO. You're stuck with that
yeah,
character.
you have to have a good amount of customization. I mean, you got to look at that thing forever.
Right.
And 11, of course, didn't have it, but it's not a big deal. I mean, we're used to one guy the whole fucking game anyway, so we're, desensitized to that. That's a good point, yeah.
I guess. But with 14, I'm just like, eh.
Yeah, you expected more.
Yeah.
Well, we'll cover that in a few months.
In 14, yeah. Final Fantasy 11 was well received by critics. I can't speak.
It was well received by critics.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah, Metacritic has the PS2 version at 85 out of 100 based on 49 separate reviews. That's
Did you look at the original Final Fantasy 14 release's Metacritic score?
No, I know it's bad though. Which is surprising because it's very similar, but the MMO landscape changed drastically in that time.
Yeah.
People were like, work? I work to play this. Yeah. So the PC version actually also had a 85 from Metacritic, which is pretty cool. I mean, honestly, it's madness that they're both on the same consoles and like, whatever. It's crazy to me still. Famitsu, obviously the popular Japanese gaming mag, gave the game a 38 out of 40, that's
super high.
That is really high. They
do that all the time.
They suck the cock of Square Enix.
I think they do because Final Fantasy 13, I believe, has a 39.
What?
Yeah. And I think there's like 2 non-Japanese games that have ever gotten a 40.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a little rough. There's some good non-Japanese games. I mean,
I think it was like Call of Duty
BioShock?
4. I think was one of them.
It's good, but like compared to like BioShock, come on. Whatever though, they can have.
I don't work at Famitsu. I don't know what to say. All I can say is their scores are bullshit.
Yeah, their top 10 is like Final Fantasy, Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy.
When you look at their reader polls, they're always newer games.
Yeah,
for their top games of all time. It's such an odd kind of way of looking at things. I don't know.
It is weird because I've like when you think of your favorite movie, my favorite movie is not the last movie I saw, or the last 20 movies I saw.
I gotta tell you, when The Dark Knight came out in theaters, a lot of people's favorite movie was The Dark Knight.
Yeah,
and I can say the same thing probably for Avengers too.
Yeah.
Avengers also.
Yeah, not 2. I haven't seen the second one yet.
I haven't either, but I haven't heard anyone say it's the best movie ever.
No, I haven't either.
Which it was, Avengers and The Dark Knight were not the best movie ever. They were good movies.
Dark Knight was really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I know what you mean. It's like, I don't know, it's weird. It like so many people are nostalgia based, but at the same time, stuff like that does happen where they're just like, oh yeah, this is the greatest game ever. You're like, well, what about FF6? Don't you remember? Like, come on. But yeah, anyway, it got great reviews. Some of the criticism for the game, though, was for the unconventional controls.
Oh, yeah, unconventional.
Unconventional as fuck, all right? Like, you have the option to click, which is not a good plan. Don't use your mouse at all if you play this game, or at least try not to. Sometimes you have to, just to make sure you select the right dude.
Select yourself somehow.
Yeah, but what you have to do is if there's a lot of people on screen, you have to tab. You have to press tab, and it makes you
cycle through everybody in front of you.
Everybody. The NPC
it's such a weird.
trusts.
It doesn't even go in any order. It's not like closest to furthest away.
Yeah, and the problem is you're sitting there mashing tab,
random.
and you fucking miss the guy you want to attack,
and then
you got to go
cycle
through
again. There's no back.
No, there's no shift tab or anything. I'm like, oh my god.
That's right. That has almost killed people.
It's crazy, and
it probably has killed people.
At that point, I just move my camera up and click. I'm like, fuck it, I'm using the mouse because it's very unconventional. It's very difficult to get used to. It's tough, but lengthy
unconventional.
download.
When they say unconventional, they mean shitty.
Yeah,
shitty controls.
Honestly, the rest of it though, other than the selecting, I think the controls are solid.
Yeah, but the selecting is the most important part of the control.
Bad, though. Yeah, it is, especially with a wide open view like that. It's not like classical Final Fantasies where you got the side view. Your dudes are like pumped up.
And the fact that I can't keep walking and hold up the map.
You can.
You can if you have yourself locked on to walking, but you can't just keep pressing the up button.
Yeah, if you do 7.
Yeah, you have to do the auto walk function.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to do the auto walk.
Well, the thing that bugs me too is the map doesn't update when you move.
Right.
It just shows where you were when you pulled the fucking thing open.
Right.
It's brutal, okay? But anyway, there's the that was the biggest criticism, which I will totally agree with. It is difficult. It is like the most brutal learning curve ever. I swear to God, I probably learned to walk faster than I learned to play this game. Lengthy download times, which I kind of experienced. It was like
downloading the game time.
Yeah, it was like an hour and a half. For
there's
me.
a lot of updates. I didn't expect a 2002 game to not have a million updates.
That's not the updates though. The original thing, the first file we download is the original game. The expansions are what update. So you think about that. Like the original file was the beef of this download. Like the rest of them were like like a minute or two for me. But I don't know. That's not really a legit complaint, though. I don't
think it was that big of a deal.
Oh, dude. Oh, we got to remember, though. This is 2002.
Oh.
This is not now. Remember internet speeds back then?
Yeah.
Broadband was the thing. 2 megabytes or 2 MB, whatever it is, megabits a second. And now we're running on like 80 to 90. I could see that. Oh, my God.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
Get that phone line.
Yeah.
Get off of 11.
Dude.
I gotta make a phone call.
Yeah. Yeah, no shit. Oh, that would be brutal. I didn't even think of that. I was like, it's not that bad. But now put it yeah. Wow. So
Man,
yeah.
that internet sound, I haven't heard that in a long time.
Oh, dude, AOL, I hate. It's still
You
around.
had AOL?
I had AOL, yes.
I'm impressed.
I had AOL in my
we
lifetime.
had Netscape.
I'm
not sure if that was a service.
I had that in Earthlink too. At least I think that's what it was. I don't know. It was porn on that thing was impossible. But anyway,
you watched porn on dial-up?
Yeah, dude.
I'm impressed.
I
only ever got to porn when high-speed internet started coming out, when you didn't have to use the phone line.
I wouldn't recommend phone line. Anyway,
because half the time the computer would freeze if it had too much information.
Yeah, it was rough. It was a rough.
So then you'd have that nice picture of Xeon, the warrior princess, or whatever.
Like halfway, it's like coming in. You're like, yes. It did have an anticipation factor. I will give it that. Anyway, the expansions to the game were also really well received. I mean, because of the mass content dump and the just the new areas, new places to explore. That's what an MMO is, And the another complaint they had was that, these updates are coming out years later, but the graphics are the same, which, not a big deal.
It's because they're keeping it on the PS2.
Yeah, it's because it's on the PS2 is the real thing. I mean, with PC, they could jump it up wherever they wanted, but they want to keep it even for the PS2 guys to keep them kind of playing, So I get it. It's just... That's the case. That's some of the flack they got later on, like 2005, 2006. You got Resident Evil 5 coming out. Like there's no contest between that and this, or like other games at that time.
I can't believe there are still people playing that on the PS2 right now.
That is mind blowing to me. I'm like, God, I can't imagine hooking that thing up to the internet.
You don't even need a good computer. Like get a $20
That's
used
what a
laptop
PS2
from 2004.
That's what a PS2 is. It's just a tiny little computer that still plays this.
Well, it depends on your PS2. You can get a PS2 Slim, then it's a tiny little computer.
But you can't play it online, though, because of the little HDD thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I kind of want to get that, though, for a different game. Resident Evil Outbreak game.
Oh, you want to get the hard drive thing?
Yeah. It cuts the loading time for areas in half, if not more.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a few other games that I have, or that I've played that it works on, too.
Really?
Yeah.
You know what, this hard drive thing? I learned about it this year.
Really?
About the PlayStation 2 hard drive.
I've been lusting after it forever.
I always thought it was like one of the Sega systems you were able to go on the internet on, right?
I think the
one that failed.
The
big
Dreamcast.
Time.
The Dreamcast had online.
Was it the Dreamcast? Yeah, it was.
It got rocked.
Yeah,
it looked good.
It got destroyed,
though.
and then it was the Xbox with the Xbox Live.
Yeah.
Which unfortunately came out too late for the first Halo, but
I know the PC had it online though.
Oh yeah,
and it was
PC
great,
version of Halo,
except for the lag, obviously.
I never experienced that much lag
in PC.
Yeah,
it really depended, but I loved PC. Halo 1 online was great. Okay. Right. I mean, Halo 2 is way better, but I mean, Halo 1 online was still a lot of fun.
Got to reminisce about the old computer online days.
Yeah, it's so maddening how different it is now. Like back when I used to play, like, what was that game? It was Delta Force, Black Hawk Down. It was god awful. Like your legs would go through the walls and like you.
But you wouldn't care.
No.
It'd just be normal.
And there was like the most amazing group of people that you'd find too. Like we'd come into this room and me and this guy like starts shooting me and I just like have my knife out and I swing at him a few times and he like stops and he puts his gun away and pulls his knife out and he starts knife fighting me and then like everyone else just descends on us with knives. It's like 12 dudes in a room just knife fighting.
I gotta ask you if you remember this. Do you remember Doom 3 coming out?
Yeah,
Because I mean, it's relatively recent, right? Like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Doom 3 coming out, and there were warnings on the box to make sure you looked at the system requirements because like no computer could play it.
It was sick at the time.
Yeah.
And it still looks pretty good on PC.
For when it came out, it's still one of those like great looking games of the original Xbox and and the computers at the time.
Yeah, on the PC it looks even better though, obviously, but that was a great game too. Anyway, we're getting off track, but yeah, online play was something back then. It was difficult. Like you had to log on, you had to make sure the connection was live, you had to pull a cord from like 100 feet away, shove it through the grates in your grandparents' house or whatever to plug it in. I seriously,
assuming you don't have parents, you just
I had it seriously. I like the computer room was like above and like 5 feet away, and I pulled the cord through the little vent thing in the unfinished basement and had it just strung across into my room to play stuff online. It was ridiculous. But that's how you had to do it back then. So I admire the fact that people are still doing it.
That's how you had to do it back then.
Yeah, some people had a classier setup. Oh.
Okay. So Final Fantasy XI is a giant cash cow for Square Enix. Still.
Yeah, it's still very, very well for them. Does very well.
So in December of 2003, Square announced that they had over 200,000 subscribers for their game, and that they finally broke even.
So way
it was like
faster.
A year later.
Yeah, way faster than they thought.
Yeah, they thought 5 years they'd make a profit, and made one in a fifth of that time.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, seriously. See, 200,000 subscribers
at $10, $11 a month.
Is
12,
that 11?
$11.95.
Thought it was like 14.
No.
Okay, one of the Final Fantasy games is charging me 14.
I think it's 14.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. $11 a month.
It's like $12.95 with the character.
They're making.
Yeah.
They're making $2 million a month.
I think so. At
oh
that
my
time.
god!
Yeah, I know. It's sick.
Holy shit!
And if they stayed for the whole content, that's like a year each. That's a lot of money coming out of that damn game.
Holy crap!
Yeah, and I mean,
okay.
In its height, I mean, it was like the 6th most played game on Xbox Live, which is really something for Xbox 360. I mean, admittedly, Halo is like the one big
3.
one. Yeah, Halo 3 is fantastic and massive on there, but to be that high up for a game that came out on PS2, that's pretty awesome.
That's legit.
Yeah.
So as of August 14, 2006, wow, that's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the I think Halo 3 was out, wasn't it? 06?
I think that's might be when it came out.
Maybe not as impressive.
It's still impressive.
Halo 2 was out.
It's still
though.
impressive for being a game that came out 4 years earlier on a different system.
Yeah, that's true. So, and then in 2012, Square Enix's president, Yoichi Wada.
He was fired, wasn't he?
I think so.
I think he might have been fired.
I can't remember.
We'll find out.
Yeah, we'll know. Announced that Final Fantasy XI had become the most profitable Final Fantasy game to date.
We've heard that many, many a time.
Yeah.
That it's the most profitable Final Fantasy game.
I've heard that 14 is going to catch it, though, soon.
Soon? Really?
I think so. I heard somewhere that they...
I mean, we're spending $2 more a month on it.
Well, that and there's a lot more players. Well, I don't know about a lot more.
I don't think it is a lot more players. I remember at one point they had 500,000, or they have 500,000 now, right?
I think something like that. That's another 300,000 on top of that, though. That's pretty substantial.
Okay.
You think $14?
No, yeah, maybe
300,000 more.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, 14 was initially a huge failure, so
Yeah,
they got to kind of make up for that.
that's true. I'm sure that
Whatever
counts in
money
their-
they lost on that,
sure
which
that
they
counts in their
must have
profit and
lost
loss.
money on that.
I would imagine, yeah.
Yeah.
They lost employees.
And then they
for
had
sure.
to redevelop a game.
Yeah. Just
That's
almost,
insane.
almost
They're-
unheard of.
Yeah. I
I'm
think
surprised they didn't scrap it at that point, how
Right.
big of a failure it was, but they wanted
so.
it.
Without 11, we wouldn't have 14, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. I don't think so.
Likely.
I don't think it would have happened because when they got into the MMO game, they were a big hitter at that time. And if they got in now, there's so many other MMOs and I don't know. I just don't think it would have went over as well.
Right.
I appreciate what I played of 14 a lot more now that I've had to play 11.
Right.
Just based on what's better and what I could see advanced and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So
All right. Well, Schweiss, as we do with all these reviews, we got to talk about the story.
yes, we do. Let us get to it. All right, well, let's do a story recap as we do.
Well, it all began with the forging of the Great Rings, as we know.
Yeah.
It all began with a stone.
Oh, with the stone.
Or so
I'm
the
sorry, not
legend
Great
says.
Rings.
Yeah, no, wrong story.
In ages past, a sentient
This guy
jewel,
explains it so
enormous
well.
and beautiful, banished the darkness. Its many-colored light filled the world with life and brought forth mighty gods.
The goods.
Bathed in that light, the world entered an age of bliss, until after a time, the gods fell into slumber.
So the gods were like,
That
fuck
world
off.
was called Vanadil.
Yeah, pretty much. He's a small.
In the 863rd year of the Crystal Era, Vanadil was in the midst of a great war. Faced with invasion by the Shadow Lord and his hordes of beastmen, the leaders of the enlightened peoples united their forces in
Khadab.
desperate alliance.
For us.
They were the Kingdom of Sandoria, the Republic of Bastok, the Federation of Winders, and the Grand Duchy of Juno. Together, they struggled for survival in battle after battle as chaos engulfed the land.
Chaos engulfing the land while we do this wide shot of a peaceful village.
Yeah.
So this is the only CG cutscene in the entire game.
It's great.
Yeah, it's well done. Here we kind of have a battlefield with beastmen coming forward, and we're going to fight the people of Vanadil.
Yes. There's the Khadab. Wait, no.
Those are Khadabs, yes. There are a lot more.
No, those are the troll dudes. They look basically the same. Their faces are really fucking Danger!
And if you hear this music in the background, this is Distant Worlds, I believe is the theme song, and it's a gorgeous piece.
Yeah, it's good. So essentially, it's an unwinnable war from the Tilden. And look at that gunpowder. Dude, run!
And you watch as these two children, one of whom is named Aldo, and then I believe his older sister,
Yeah.
they're running away from whatever battle is taking place here.
Now the mages are casting media. Fucking everything. I know, but it's doing a lot. one shot like 4 or 5 of those dudes.
Anyway, so these children are just watching this violence happen. There's a part we'll get to. Yeah, it's down here when they're in the underground area. Look at this. Just see the cadavers or troll thing just slaughter people before their eyes. These children are not going to be okay.
No, especially one of them. Very much dead. Oh, right. I think Benjamin said he saw one.
Is it just, it's not a boss, it's just out there?
I don't remember what he said it was, but he said he saw one.
I mean, he's so ahead of us all the time, it could be.
Yeah.
Could be a boss. They've reached the end of this little tunnel that they're in. There's just a little gap in the wall that they can't quite reach.
Aldo, listen. You've got to climb.
What do we do when we fall, Bruce? Or whatever the fuck he says.
Is that after he breaks his back?
Sis? Can you
That's when
lower
he
yourself down?
Falls into the pit.
I think so.
Oh, that's right, the flashback.
So his sister pushes Aldo up to the break in the wall, and then she's not able to get up herself, and he's helpless on the outside.
Yeah.
Emmeline? Aldo, just run!
So
I was
she's
watching
trying-
this thinking she was going to make it, and I was like, what the fuck? She doesn't make it.
She doesn't make it.
Emmeline?
At least we don't think she does. Maybe she does in some expansion.
I don't know, but my mind was blown. I was like, God,
It's violence.
the kid?
Off-screen violence is brutal.
And then his Schwarzenegger-esque, la, la. It's insensitive.
That'll make it laugh in Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah.
So now we have Kadavs. Or troll things, whatever the fuck, the Beastmen.
The Beastmen, yeah.
Roaming in their battlefield. Victorious. And then poor Aldo, he walks alone.
Insanely mumbling and crying to himself. Dude. Bullshit here.
Why? But then years pass, I'm guessing here.
Yeah. FF7-esque.
20 years later.
Trees everywhere.
It's nice and beautiful, the place that they were originally in. And here come the adventurers.
Yep.
Very reminiscent, I'd say, of Final Fantasy 1, where
You just
kind
there.
of the adventurers are there.
Yeah.
They're here to save the world.
Yep.
They have no backstory that you're aware of. Ever. A wide shot of basically the game saying, "This is you."
One of these guys will look exactly like yours. Final Fantasy 11.
So a very great opening cinematic, I'd say.
Yeah, it was everything great about Final Fantasy right there. Just the emotion, brutality, the beauty.
But of course, we don't get anything else like that the entire rest of the game, story-wise, as far as the main missions are concerned.
We do not. No more high-def cutscenes. I mean, and now, once we've watched that, and we've, of course, selected our region.
we selected Bastok.
Right, enter Bastok. The music that I thought was kind of cool in the beginning, and now I don't ever want to hear again. Although it's not as infuriating as the Sandoria. Well, not Sandoria, the sands right outside of town. What are they?
Gustaberg?
Gustaberg, yeah. Gustaberg bugs me now.
Well, half the time it's silent.
Yeah, but like the little jingle they have, I'm like, oh, God. When I got to the other areas, I was like, oh, this is good. You know? Like outside of Jueno and outside of
Outside of
Sandoria
Sandoria
it was
and
fantastic.
Yeah, stop saying Sandoria sucks.
Sandoria's. Oh no,
Yeah,
yeah,
you were
Sandoria's
saying
fine.
that.
I meant
Basically,
East of
though, the
Berg.
entire rest of the game, you just kind of show up in town, and there's some guys that kind of like, hey, you look new.
yeah.
And then they're like, oh, go get an adventurer's certificate from this one lady. So you go get the adventurer's certificate. Then you have to talk to one of the guards, one of the gate guards, which is half the game, by
Yeah,
the way.
the gate guards essentially are the mission givers.
In the city of Bastok,
In the
or
city of
whatever
Bastok.
city you start from.
And to gain new... Basically, the leveling up in this is very interesting. There's both a set level for your class character, and there's also the level for your adventurer,
rank.
your rank. Yeah. So, like, to gain rank points, you do things for your nation, which essentially means getting a spell called... what the hell is
Signet.
it? Signet cast on you, and you gain points from kills and crystals from kills, and you trade those into the guards, and you level up your rank to then unlock further in quests.
You do have to say, though, you have no idea who to talk to if you're starting out this game and you're not looking at a wiki page.
You do not. It is brutal as fuck when it comes to starting out. I was like, what the fuck am I doing in here? I did not know.
Once again, I feel Final Fantasy 1-esque.
Yeah.
It just drops you there and it says, fuck you.
I would say more brutal than 1 in the beginning.
More brutal than 1? Really?
Yes. In the very beginning, yes. But later on, no. You kind of get the gist of it.
Okay.
Talk to these 5 important people and these fancily dressed guards,
Yep.
and you're fine.
Yep, pretty much.
But yeah, so, you level up by giving them crystals, which you get from killing monsters with your, of course, with Signet cast on you, and you gain points
You don't
for
necessarily have to have Signet cast
You
on
don't,
you
but it increases the
to get the
chance of the crystals.
yeah.
By a lot.
You give the crystals to one of the gate guys, and he'll give you a thingy.
Right.
So your first mission, you got to go get the Zayran report,
Right.
and that's when you meet Naji and Sir Lucius.
Yeah.
And in order to get the Zayran report, you
Yes.
actually have to go through the Zayran mines, which... Do you remember going through the Zayran mines for the first time?
Yeah, it was brutal. Thing is you don't realize that there's no maps in the game until you find out that there's no maps by getting lost. So you go talk to Naji, and he has a conversation with Lucius, and they're like, oh, it's adventurer, hello, and like blah, 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 go do this, errand boy. Go into the mines, you grab the stuff, you get the report from this random dude that's balls deep in the mines, right? And then
you don't know, there's a high probability, as it was with myself, that you have no idea that you could buy maps from people.
Yeah, so you got to remember. And I'm bad at directions. I'm really directionally challenged, especially in video games, and especially when it's bland. Like, if there's not any markers on the horizon or anything, I am fucked.
If you guys played Final Fantasy 12, you kind of know what it's like. It's just huge.
Yeah, but with no map. No map unless you buy it.
I think there were some areas in Final Fantasy 12 where you had to get maps. Is that true? Or am I just remembering incorrectly?
I honestly
Don't remember.
don't remember, no. I know there's areas where the map's messed up from Magicite stuff, but...
So basically, after the Zayran report, after you give him the Zayran report or whatever, you gotta go meet Sid, and Sid will give you another assignment, which is geological survey. He's gonna do some acidity tests. This has nothing to do with the main drama of the story, but it's just another mission on the way. The acidity test of the geysers in the Dengrif Wadi.
Yeah.
Which is a long walk.
It kind of has something to do with it, if I remember right. There's like... Testing it is like testing for something that'll show that the enemy's moving or something like that. The poison. I can't remember exactly what it is. I don't really care either. You guys might hate me for that, but the story is like so lukewarm, like 12s almost, that you're just like, what's happening?
We'll decide our opinions on the story.
Right, no, I know. But so essentially you go get a water enema from this fountain that like shoots up your ass, and you launch up onto a
It's so
platform.
weird. You like have to stand in a certain place, and then you're just like
yeah,
just shot up into the air, which is hilarious.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I mean, honestly, the funnest part of this, and I hated it until I started questing with other people, the best part of the game, make sure you got other people with you. Have a dedicated time, have a dedicated layout of playing the game, at least until you get through the story stuff. And that's what makes it fun, is playing with other people.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of this.
The game is too big to not have someone else with you.
Yeah, it's lonely. Like, it sets in, and it's bad. So you get the water enema, you come back. I mean, then you have to go do the most macabre mission ever in the history of anything. You go get chunks of dead cadaver. And I mean, I understand that they're the enemy of your people, but for God's sake, you're going into their land, killing them, cutting them into fucking pieces, and bringing them back as trophies.
Most of these beginning missions, I believe you're just showing yourself off as an adventurer who can go do stuff, right?
Yeah, essentially. You're
Okay.
kind of like hog status, esque stuff.
So we all know there's some kind of trouble with the cadavers or the beastmen.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of doing quests around the, how the cadaver shit.
Right, yeah, and you have to go find parts of the cadaver doll, quote unquote, which I don't buy at all.
You think it's part of dead cadaver?
I think so, yes. And honestly, this mission was brutal. Like, it took forever to get the pieces. Was that way for you?
It did.
It was a while.
It took for fucking ever. I leveled up a lot, though.
Yeah, that's the great part, is like, oh, I'm going to level
And
up.
it's a long-ass walk.
It
and
is.
I died a few times.
I did too, and I'm like, oh, dude.
You have to walk from Bastok to... Guys, it takes 15 minutes to get out of an area.
Yeah, it's a bit. It's a bit of a
It's
walk.
huge.
There's a...
Got to go up to North Gusterberg and then, like, the east side of the Conshot Highlands, the Cumshot Highlands, as
Yeah.
we call it.
It's a great name.
And then go up to the northeast end of that. And then you're finally in the cave with all the cadavers. And only certain cadavers will drop the items that you need.
Yeah, the higher level ones. And I will say this, though. If you're going to buy this game, make sure you buy the collector's edition, because you get what's called the Destrier Beret, and it's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
You can, it gives you like
Well,
plus...
unfortunately, we didn't know about that right at the
No, we
beginning.
didn't, and I hate myself for it because of all the fucking walking. But anyway, you give yourself like a 40 to 50% movement speed boost.
And it feels normal. That
Yeah.
feels like that's the amount, that's the speed of walking it should be.
Yeah, like when I was leveling up my sub job and I threw it back on, I was like, oh my God, I'm so slow. But it's worth it. So make sure you activate that. You got to go talk to your...
It's like a Nomad Moogle? Or?
Yeah, Nomad Moogle. There's one right outside your home in Bastok or wherever you are. That's where you activate the item. Once you activate it through the really convoluted method of activating it online, where you enter in your key code that you get, you have to enter in separate codes for separate items. But definitely activate that thing and use it. It gives you a lot of speed, and you get to revive, which is amazing. So yeah, that cuts down on the walking that we hate so much.
Right.
God, the walk.
That was such a pain in the ass mission.
That was, because I didn't have the beret either. I mean, I had it, but I didn't
We
use
weren't
it.
even playing together at that point because I was still ahead of you
Yeah.
at the...
I was like, week 1, I caught up by the end of week 1 to Joe, but before then I was basically solo.
Right.
So
I had
it was-
an extra 8 hours of play on him.
Yeah. So I was still learning how to play. and
I
he
was still
actually
learning at that
questing.
point too, though.
Yeah.
Like the we'll talk about this later, but the the learning curve on this game was sick, dude.
It was rough, yeah. It's an intense one.
So the next quest was the Crystal Line. Do you remember what happened in the Crystal Line? Because I do not. But I am looking at this list here, and I'm seeing the Crystal Line as like one of the quests. Should I click on it?
Yeah, let's see what it is. I think
You have a letter from the chief engineer?
This is the one where she wouldn't accept the letter. Remember, I was having problems with it? So sometimes this game just doesn't want to work. I don't know why. But if they have numerous possibilities that you might be talking to them about, they might get stuck on one, even though you have an item to hand them for a quest. And hang on, pause it for a second. With giving quest items, okay, this is one thing that I will never get over with this game, okay? When you... there's times where you can hand them an item by just talking to them, and then there's times where you can't. And what you have to do is tab onto them, have them selected, go into your menu, click trade, find the item,
Yes.
and trade them the
Yep.
fucking item.
Yep.
God!
Yep.
Ooh. Fuck, I hate that. It's so annoying to me. It's like, you asked me to get this fucking book for you, and I come in here, and now I've got to go through this fucking menu system. Just take it. Just take the book.
Yeah, take the microphone, slam it down.
Fuck this. No, that part is... I don't even have words outside of what I have already said. It's like ridiculous. I mean, you get used to it because there's like key items or something like that. There's a description next to them that you can kind of tell, okay, I'm going to have to trade this, or I'm going to have to just talk to this guy. But the first few times, and oh my God, the time when we had to trade the corn to that guy. No.
You're right, choice.
I'm fine, yeah.
Coughing like a smoker. Good God. You remember the sound it made?
Yes. No.
Do that again.
One more.
The sound that plays every single time you finish a quest or a mission. You hear that? It's not the nice little victory fanfare we're used to.
Which does happen.
It does on level ups.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is it's really satisfying when it happens.
It is, yeah, but the trading thing is another one of those clunky controls that it was rough for me. I didn't grasp it, and then I was like, I have to do what?
I'd say most of the missions we did had something to do with going and getting an object from someone or something else.
Yeah, and trading it.
Bringing it back and trading it to them. And that object would give them more information on the beastmen, I think, most of the time.
Yeah, a lot of it was like collecting data on how to, fuck these guys over.
I can't remember the importance of the lizard eggs, though.
Yeah.
Which is the next mission.
Oh, the guy wants
on
to,
the list.
he likes the eggs, remember?
Yeah, he likes to eat the eggs, that's right.
It's like a weird quest where you're like the bitch.
It's an optional quest.
It is, but you get good rank points for it, so it's worth it.
So you use it all over and over again.
Yeah.
Is the emissary, the next quest here, the emissary, the one where you have to go to the other nations?
Yeah, it's when you go on the boat, remember?
Oh, you had to meet with the president for the first time, and you just basically become an errand boy for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Not that you weren't already.
Well, now you're a political errand boy.
Yeah, now you're basically you'll become a diplomat at this point.
And you get paid a lot better too. I'll say that.
So with the emissary, I think they have like they found out about the beastmen's positions or what they're doing.
Yeah, their movements. It's really Lord of the Rings-esque, honestly. Like the beastmen are moving, and then like the shadow of the mountain is like they've sensed movement. Yeah, and there's a giant eye. No, there's not the eye. But...
Can you do the scream thing?
What? No, I can't.
No. There you go. Keep trying it twice. Just see how much.
Yeah, I can't. It's almost there. I'll perfect it by next episode.
Okay. Yay. So the emissary, I believe, is the quest where you track their. You've been giving them information about their movements, and you got to give that information to the other major nations.
Yes. This is where the missions start getting long.
Mm-hmm. Long as my penis.
Yes. Well,
actually, well, maybe not.
Yeah, well, longer, but
a little longer. Yeah.
But yeah, this is where it starts getting. You start really feeling the walk. Like, I know you got the boots and it's okay, but that becomes the norm because you're used to that speed, and then it's like, yeah, here's the way.
There is a point where you slow down, and
yeah.
I think it came about when we were doing this mission.
Well,
was when we hit level 30.
I don't know if I was level 30 by then.
I think so, because fetishism got you to like level 26.
Oh, dude, we might have been. Oh my God. So yeah, essentially we've got to take this info to the other nations.
Yeah, and the nations are far apart.
Yes, they are very far. Now, the nice thing is it's got a crystal system that's very similar to 12's. The golden crystals in 12.
It does now. I didn't have it at the beginning.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious. That was an expansion thing.
Oh my God. Dude.
None of the teleportation except for the crags for the white mages.
Oh.
Yeah. Brutal.
Oh my God. If you die,
isn't that
you're
disgusting?
Done.
Yeah.
I would stop playing. I'd be like, fuck this in the face. I'm out of here. I got way better shit to do. This is 2002. This isn't like 84, 83.
There's a new System of a Down album out I should listen to right
Yeah.
now.
I am going to go play Call of Duty Finest Hour. Thank you. I can't.
Maybe I'll read Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
Maybe, yeah. The point is it's sick.
I have my dates messed up on that.
Maybe.
No, I don't. I do not.
So, no crystals. Fuck, I did not realize that. Anyway, there's a teleportation system now, thank God. Thank God. And once you get to these nations, you can select the crystal, and you can now teleport between those crystals from your home nation to this nation. So it's a one-time thing, but it's a big thing to travel. But, once you do that, you meet with the different emissaries and the different nations for your nation, obviously, and you kind of let everybody know, hey, shit's happening here. I don't know how they didn't know, but,
This mission was the two-parter, though, right?
Yes.
And, like, the mission had a different route depending on which area we went to first. And we went to Sandoria first before going to Windhurst.
Yeah.
And we had to take out the Sandorian guy asked us to go take out this one Beastman dude.
Yeah, he was in a
in
village.
this other camp, which took more walking. You had to go to this camp of Kadavs, and you had to take down this particularly powerful one.
I don't think it was Kadavs, though.
Was it Beastman?
It was a beast.
The ogre guys?
I think it was the ogre guys, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, you go through this giant village of them, and it really feels like that weird village in 12 near the beginning where you got, like, the elders, and it kind of feels like them, except for they hate you.
Ravenaster?
No, it's like, it's that weird, like, bone village place.
Huh.
Like, right in the beginning of the game. I remember almost nothing about that, though.
We'll find out soon.
Yeah, but anyway, it's kind of like that. But the nice thing is by this time, nothing really aggroes to you. Which aggro, of course, if you guys aren't MMO players, it's where they get aggressive potentially.
It's the same. They do the same thing in FF12, only you can't fucking run away unless you zone out of the area.
Yeah, this is like 12 on roids. They're just like, they see you and they get tunnel vision. They've got horse blinders on. You are it. You are dead. Do not stop.
You're the
will
fucking
not
red
stop for
cape
you.
to the fucking bull.
Yeah, they're not stopping, okay? Do not believe it. If you don't see them, they're coming. There's only been one time where I stopped and they weren't there anymore. One time.
What? That
Yeah.
happened?
Yeah.
I don't believe you.
But the problem is
They must have switched targets.
it never happens with a boss. Never. If you find like a rare enemy, which don't ever mess with unless you
a
know.
named monster.
Yeah,
you mean,
named
a notorious monster.
Which is weird because you don't really notice when you're mindlessly grinding for levels. I'm just like, I'll attack this guy. And it's like, gay. But yeah, they don't give up on the chase. But this area, with these beastmen, they don't really mess with you until you get to the boss, obviously.
They were kind of weak, honestly.
They were, yeah.
It was a particularly easy fight compared to the rest of the game. The other two bosses that we had to deal with in the rest of the game.
The dragon guy, God.
Was that next though? Was that the Windhurst one? Was the dragon, or is that later on?
I don't remember.
I think it might be later.
I think it's later though. Yeah.
And so you have to do that to have the Sandorians trust you. I can't even remember what you have to do for the Windhurst guys. Maybe they're just so trusting.
That might have been the dragon actually, because you went through the weird Birdman area. Remember?
Then that would be the dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what you go kill for them.
Right.
So it's a big mission. This
the emissary. Yeah.
It's beefy, but it's the last rank 2 mission, I believe. So
I
after
do.
that,
Yeah. And then you go on to rank 3.
Yeah, which is super fun, exciting.
Oh man. I do remember being extremely frightened, like scared for that first boss, though.
Yeah.
When you had to go fight the Beastmen, because FF11 is notorious for being extremely difficult. Mostly from the old days where it took a lot to level up. Because now they have, the Chariot Band that'll help you out. And they'll often come out with these experience weekends or whatever that Square Enix puts out where they're like double XP for this week. And I think at some point, in like 2000, I want to say like 2008 or something like that, one of the big updates, it updated the experience tree so that it was like half the amount of experience that you needed.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude.
That's why it's just so much faster now to level up in Final Fantasy XI.
It still takes forever, though.
It still does take forever, but if you hear people talk about the horrible old days,
Yeah,
Those
that's
days
true.
are over now.
Yeah, it's
for the
not
most
bad.
part.
It's not bad as far as leveling. Until you start getting into like the mid 60s, and then it gets bad.
So, what happens in the Four Musketeers? Do you remember?
Oh, this is the one where we go to Bordeaux and we attack. We have to kill like 30 Kadav, copper Kadavs. Remember?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And the Four Musketeers is
So you're basically going out and starting war.
you're butchering the enemy.
You're butchering the enemy.
With
That's kind of wrong.
with
isn't
these three dudes, Iron Eater, Naji, and the semi-hot
it? Ayame.
Ayami, and then Volker too. Those guys are the Musketeers, so to speak. They're like the not really the King's Guard, but kind of. Oh, they're just kind of high-end warriors, so to speak. So you walk out to this really faraway place, and I should just like copy and paste that saying for the. And your mission is to kill a bunch of Gadav, and of course they're all like running in, like, yeah, let's go get them, and then they're not there. It's just you.
I think for tactical reasons, I guess you're there to kill 20 copper Kadavs only.
Yeah, they're probably like
because of their
higher-
position or
yeah.
something like that. Even though I can tell you, there are much tougher Kadavs
yeah, the
on
old,
the hill.
the amethyst, and the
Yeah,
whatever the other ones were. They're sick. They are worth a lot of XP though.
yeah.
This is a place to level. This is where we got to level 30.
Is it?
Yes.
I thought I was in the Conchod Highlands and it was like taking forever.
I don't think this is where we got to 30. Because I remember we logged off that night once I got to level 30 and we watched some Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay.
So we were still using the band. Man, we had the band for a long time. It's dead now, though.
So do you remember the Glaucosite? Glaucolite?
Well, I know you have to go into the mines, obviously, like it's showing here.
Yeah. Oh, there was another boss there. That's right.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
that fish.
Yeah.
Well, he's easy though.
You had to go into the mines and do that.
The mines were rough though. Those ghouls or ghasts or whatever they were. It's another area where we didn't have the map to, and I mean, we played with some guys that were pretty experienced, so they bought the maps. They knew where it was going on. But Joe and I mean, I would get there first.
Noobs.
I would go in and I'd be like, "Oh, I'm going to check out the area. It can't be that tough."
And then you get lost.
You get lost.
And then it'd be like, Schweiss, come on.
Well, the thing was, I was like right next to you guys too. I just went down the stairs. You guys were at the top of the stairs looking for me, and I was downstairs getting gangbanged by skeletons. But yeah, anyway, we go into this area. We bait this fish out. We fight it, and we get this chunk of glaucolite, and it's fancy. And of course, you can tag team this fish. There's a cooldown time for him, but not a big deal, really. And I think we had, what do we have, like 4 or 5 of us doing this? I think it was 5.
I think it was...
Because we had Bandrum and Crinitol.
Yeah, I think it was Benjamin
And we had-
Crinitol. It might have been Darth Jones.
Darth was there, yeah. It was
he
5
there?
of us, yeah.
Okay.
It was almost a full party. So, yeah, you go get them. I mean, essentially you're getting it for research for Sid, who is...
So much errand boying in this
It's true, yeah. There's a lot of it. And
this area. I do remember, though, that after this mission, you are sent by your nation, Bastok, to go be a diplomat to Juno.
yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, that's
Which
what
is
you-
like the peaceful city of the world where everybody kind of hangs out.
Yeah, everyone that actually plays the game in real
Yeah.
life, they like to be there. So...
And that's kind of where the plot thickens, because at some point, and I'm not quite sure when, I think it's kind of when you're doing all the Juno stuff, like you got to go into a giant tower and get some magicite. I'm not sure what the reason for the magicite was. Honestly, this game is hard to track with the amount of text boxes there are.
Yeah.
But after you get the magicite, that's kind of when people are wondering, is the Shadow Lord coming back? Where is he? Like, the Shadow Lord is, I believe, who was in charge 20 years ago? during that beginning battle that we went through at the beginning cutscene? Was he like the big baddie that got the Beastmen to rise or something like that?
No, it's I don't know, it's like a weird Sin-esque thing with the Shadow Lord. Because the guy who was the Shadow Lord at the end defeated the Shadow Lord before. You remember that?
No, I don't.
I swear to God, that's what happens.
I thought he just was the Shadow Lord, and he just became.
Maybe I don't remember. It's really weird, and it is hard to follow. Honestly, it's a difficult game to go through with the story.
But anyway, you get all these whisperings of the Shadow Lord, and eventually, you start learning a little bit more about him, and there's these kind of flashbacks where it shows you some of the characters' issues with like this violent dude who becomes the Shadow Lord. You remember what his name was? The guy who becomes the Shadow Lord?
I can't remember exactly.
Okay. Man, who was it? Okay. So Zed is saying here, let's just do this thing here. 30 years ago, the three nations, Windhurst, Bastok, and Sandoria, sent an expedition to investigate the Cursed Lands. The Galka swordman Raugrim, that's right.
Yep.
The Hume Cornelian, the Hume warrior Ulrich, and I believe it was the Galka.
Yeah, he became the Shadow Lord.
He became the Shadow Lord. And he betrays everyone and just becomes, all powerful or whatever.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of betrayal in the story of 11. Honestly, it was like a lot of messed up political shit.
It was all during that last mission, though.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like during the Darkness Rising quest, that's when all the plot thickens, and then the next mission, of course, you go to defeat the Shadow Lord.
Yeah, that's when it becomes pretty awesome. Honestly, it's when it gets good, and the last area is fucking awesome. But we'll talk about that later. So, I mean, essentially, you finally get the location of the Shadow Lord. And then you find him.
Yes. And then you defeat him.
Yes.
and at the end of the game, it's like, hey, now it's the time for the adventurer. Like, you've stopped the Shadow Lord for now, and
the age of the adventurer begins.
The age of the adventurer is nigh.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is the age of the adventure. I fucking finished the game.
Yeah.
This is me, Japanese, in 2002.
I've adventured. Hello.
I have adventured. This is the end.
Yeah, but then you
This
fight
is
him.
the cool cutscene, though. The Shadow Lord returning. And, man, finally some color in the game.
Yeah, there's a lot of color right here. Some crystals. You've got your buddies here.
And all the people who had been with Raregrim, whatever his name is. They're there too, I believe. Cornelia and Zed.
Yeah.
Even though they don't help you at all.
Nope. It's just you.
So, basically, in a wrap-up of the story, Final Fantasy XI is set in the world of Vana'diel. The world is diverse, with climates ranging from cold as balls to hot as balls.
Yeah. There's really cold glaciers.
I love this write-up that you did here, Schweiss. It's amazing. You become quite intimate with these areas, as the first 20 hours or so of gameplay is spent walking, as we were saying.
Yeah.
I think it's even more than that, but
probably.
Whatever.
I like to be positive, half full.
Yeah, the game's lore states that the world was created as a playground for the gods and their children spawned from the crystal. The children wanted to be one with the gods, so they constructed a way to join them. They were struck down and their cities destroyed for their insolence. The gods then created the world as we know it and also brought to life the Beastmen, whose purpose is to constantly war with the humanoid races and
basically to harry them from keeping them from joining the gods. It's really weird. They're like, the gods want to fuck them over. But anyway, the game is spent trying to raise an alliance between the three main nations of the world in order to fight the Shadow Lord and his army of douchebag beastmen. You eventually unite the nations, and if you have enough magic damage and luck, you defeat the Shadow Lord. This guy becomes immune to physical damage
Yeah, it's a very small plot.
halfway through his first phase, and it's rough. It is rough if you don't have magic. It's like
We're
impossible.
a very physical attack
yeah.
heavy party.
And when we got
we
to the
needed
second,
a black mage, and I was the only thing.
I know, I should have done it, dude. The mage is so damaging in this game. It's so good.
Mhm.
Do it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, once we finally broke through the first phase, we get to the second phase, and this guy, his AoE damage was insanity. Just sick. Do you remember that thing? He just spammed it, and it was like 300-400 damage each time. He did a move where it sapped all the mana from your mage.
Mm-hmm.
He was just laughing at us.
Don't cry, Yazoo.
He was laughing at us crying. Yeah. That's exactly how it was.
Sorry, that was me trying to recreate the soundtrack of the Shadow Lord.
Yeah. By the way, that last area's music is awesome.
Yeah, we'll get to music later, of course.
Of course, yes.
So Schweiss, considering the other Final Fantasies, including Final Fantasy 1, how do you think the story in FF11, at least the nation mission of Bastok, how do you think it compares to other stories in the series?
I feel like as a standalone, I don't think it holds up quite as well as most of them, to be honest. I mean,
Yeah.
it's got the gameplay and stuff like that is fun, but if you're talking just story, I would put it fairly low.
Right, and this was something that Void, a green mushroom, one of the friends of the show,
Yeah.
he skipped 11 when he was doing his playthrough of the main series of Final Fantasy.
He
and I
did.
believe he's still playing other Final Fantasy games.
He is, yeah. He's not done, but
Yeah, I saw his review of 13.2 up, so obviously he's still playing them.
yeah.
Um,
I think he's on Tactics right now, and he hates it. He says he's having a really hard time with it.
oh, is he?
Yeah,
Okay.
which
I don't
he's
know.
like, which one of you said it's great?
I'm
And I'm like, Craig. Yeah. I said it's brutal.
A lot of people say it's great.
Yeah, we'll figure it out, and we'll cheat it, I'm sure.
The Final Fantasy 11 story isn't really a story, is it?
No, it's not. It's an errand boy quest, just like FF1.
Errand boy quests where other people are figuring out the drama behind you.
Yeah, and you're just
As far
kind
as
of
where the Beastmen are and
Yeah.
is the Shadow Lord coming back?
right.
And then at one point you go and you're the guy who has to go defeat the Shadow Lord.
Yeah, you're basically an errand boy, and then a political puppet, and then arrow fodder for the Shadow Lord. But you win, so you
You should win.
Yeah, you don't
anyway.
have to. You could always.
What's insane, and we'll get this to this later, is that the level cap at the time was level 50. And we had to level up to 55 in order to take that guy down.
Yeah, that was the only way we could do it.
He's rough.
He is very intense.
Anyway, I'd say story-wise, though, nothing like 10, nothing like 6 through 9, not even like 5 and 4. Like,
Yeah.
all of kind of the melodrama that we're used to in the Final Fantasy games. All like the superpower evil guys, the mind control, shit like that.
I'm glad they moved from the mind control.
Well, they had a little bit of the mind control because the guy became the Shadow Lord because he was like tempted into it or something. It's some
I
vague
guess there
thing.
is. Damn them.
But it's so little plot.
Yeah,
For a mainline Final Fantasy, it is incredible.
it is. Yeah.
And so, a Green Mushroom was talking about how that was he was wondering, and I think we got that question later. How much story there was in the game. Almost none.
Yeah, there's
Almost
not a whole
none.
lot.
Like Final Fantasy 11, the game is mostly a game.
Yep.
Which a lot of people complain Final Fantasy as being mostly a movie, and so
Right.
this is kind of making up for that in a way.
Yeah.
But the closest I think Final Fantasy XI gets to another mainline Final Fantasy game in feel and look, and all in all, the game just wants to fuck you over, kind of
Yeah.
dealio, and in just story density, I'd say Final Fantasy 1.
I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's very similar. Just
So-
kind of a, here you go, good luck.
Well, yeah, it's the here you go, good luck. It's completely non-linear if you choose it to be.
Yeah, which
You can-
it's great. I like non-linear plot lines, honestly. I like that aspect. But it's so non-linear that you have no structure. You don't know what to do unless you're
you don't know
looking
who
up.
to talk to.
Yeah, there's so many people, so many NPCs everywhere, and the sick part is you remember that quest we did to level up to level 70? How we were supposed to just know things about the NPCs?
Yeah.
Fuck that. Okay, I'm not talking to
It
everybody in
wasn't
this
level
town.
7. It was the next rank.
No, it was the. It was
Oh,
the
yeah,
level
yeah,
cap.
no, yeah, yeah. It was the level.
We
It
had
was
to,
the
like-
limit break is what they call it.
Yeah, limit break quests. We had to know certain things about certain characters. I only guessed one of them, but like they're in different nations. Like basically, the game expected you to treat it like you would any other Final Fantasy and talk to most of the people.
There's so many people.
There's so
And
many
the
people.
land is so huge.
It's massive. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's only a pain when it becomes, it gets to the point where you have to like, oh yeah, the gassy antelope from this area, talk to him, rub his belly, and he will release to level up. It's stressful sometimes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I completely agree. There's no way you could play this game without a wiki, but we'll talk about that more in gameplay, which
Yes.
of course we'll talk about next time. Out of 10, what would you give the story, Schweiss?
Out of 10, I'd probably give it like a 5, maybe a 4.
5 out of 10? That's
Yeah.
pretty high.
You think so?
I think it's like a 2.
Really?
The lore is interesting. The beginning cutscene is interesting, and the ending cutscene is interesting. And maybe the cutscene before it, where it has the flashback, and the dude like goes nuts and stabs people.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right, so
That's
you'd
it,
give it
though.
a 2.
I give it a 2, at least for this nation mission. Now we do have to specify. Yes, that was the initial release, and that's what we have to play through in this playthrough of 11 because we want to say we beat the game.
Right.
We beat the game. We killed what was the end game boss.
Right. Remember, though, we will be reviewing whatever else we finish after this, after Part 2 comes out.
True.
So,
It could continue. I think it kind of veers off of the Shadow
so,
Lord story,
yeah.
but I don't know.
we'll find out.
Yeah, we will hopefully find out.
If we can ever beat the mission that's next, oh, God.
But as far as that standalone Bastok Nation mission, and I think it's about the same for the other ones, Sandoria and Windhurst, very, very thin story.
A lot of dialogue for not a whole lot, honestly, and it's tough. It's tough to get through.
Right.
I didn't want to read the text boxes. I read them, but a lot of it didn't mean anything to me, just because of how disconnected I felt.
I think part of the disconnect, besides the fact that you're playing yourself, which has always been a mistake, I feel, in video games, is that you're playing yourself. You're not playing another person.
I don't know. It depends, dude. Elder Scrolls does it so well.
Hold on. Besides that little issue, it's that the side characters that you get to know, well, you don't get to know the side characters, I should say. There's so many characters through these missions, through these 5 ranks that you have
Yeah.
to go through,
That you can't connect.
that you can't connect to any of them.
Yeah, except for maybe Naji, because you talk to him the whole game.
Yeah, Naji is the one that you revisit all the time.
And there's a cool little love story between him and Ayami, where he's in love with her, but she thinks he's an idiot because he is.
Yeah,
He's kind of a
still-
gimp, but it's because
I
she's
just-
around.
I just don't care, though.
No, I know. Outside of those two, honestly, is there anyone else that you remember other than Iron Eater because you talked to him 50 times? There's no one. You've got a Russian president. You've got you've got these random people, and I totally feel you on that. There's no connection, and you're a nobody. That's what makes it hard. Is that
I
you're
feel
a
like
nobody?
you
and
feel
they're
about as
nobodies.
much connection for Princess Sarah in Final Fantasy 1 as you do for anything in this game.
Yeah, I could see that.
Think Final Fantasy 1. If you're a big fan of Final Fantasy 1, I actually think this game might be for you.
Yeah,
Unless it's the gameplay element, in which case turn-based is completely out of the question. But
right. It did feel like one with a
tonally,
multiplayer aspect.
I think it felt like 1. I think
Yes.
the way they told the story, it felt like 1. The way that it just kind of shoves you in there, felt like 1. The way it was really, the difficulty level in this game felt like the first 3 games.
Yeah.
So
They were rough, dude.
this is more of a return to form than Final Fantasy IX.
Yeah, 9 ain't nothing as far as a callback. This is the callback, man.
This is the ultimate.
Yeah. Remember who you are.
Who you were
Final
back in
Fantasy.
1989 or whatever. Oh, God.
Yeah, so the story, you know.
The thing I said right at the beginning has that 1980s fuck you kind of feel.
Yep. That is a phrase you should coin.
All right, so I think that's going to end it for part 1 of our Final Fantasy review episode. Thank you guys for joining us. Make sure you support us on Patreon. Check us out on Facebook and whatever.
Yep.
See you next week.
Enjoy the grind.
This has been another production of Ultima Final Fantasy, the Ultimate Final Fantasy Podcast. The show was produced by Joseph DeGollier and Caleb Schweiss, with music and editing by Joseph DeGollier, parodies and clips from their respective authors, of course. You can get all of our episodes as well as our Let's Plays at ultimafinalfantasy.com. You can also contact us on Twitter at UFF Podcast, as well as our contact page on our website. Be sure to subscribe and review our podcast. Your reviews may get read on the show, and look forward to the next episode of Ultima Final Fantasy, the Ultimate Final Fantasy Podcast.